Hey, alright. So, after a long hiatus of streaming, I am back. I'm going to be continuing working on just general programming and such. So I think, well, not really I think, I know today I'm going to be doing the Codecademy Python 2 tutorials. Mostly because I don't quite feel like paying the exorbitant prices for the Codecademy Pro. So we'll work through the Python. A while back, somebody had requested that I do this on one of my JavaScript Codecademy videos. So we'll work through this and we'll kind of go from there, see how it goes. And then I'm gonna be hopefully sticking to a regular schedule. I'm gonna do like Codecademy or other coding tutorials Wednesday nights. Working with Godot and game dev on Thursday nights, and then Sunday I'm going to be playing Stardew Valley just to kind of go through the new update and everything. So I guess with that we can get started. So as you can see, just the Learn Python 2. We're just going to start right from the beginning. So, hello world. Programming is the act of teaching a computer to have a conversation with the user. So, I mean, if you're here, you kind of know what programming is, or you do know, and it's just kind of fun to do. You can write things out and have the computer actually go through, execute what you did. So we'll start with the absolute very basic. So, using the print statement, output a message of your choosing to the terminal. So with Python 2, it's pretty straightforward. It's just print and then whatever you want to print. For Python 3, it's print and then whatever you want to print in parentheses like that. So here we'll just print hello stream. Boom. So when I click the run, it's just going to print hello stream over here. Kind of like that. And so with that, we've completed the instructions for this one. We can move on to the next. Oh, hey look. There are two different Python versions. Both Python 2 and 3 are used throughout the globe. The most significant difference between the two is how you write a print statement. In Python 3, print has parentheses. I just went over that. So we can do print this is Python 3 syntax. I'm just kind of keeping an eye on all of like my encoding settings and everything for the stream, because it's the well, since the last time I spent a decent amount of time streaming, I've built a new PC. I'm making sure that everything is running the way it should. Right. When printing things in Python, we're supplying a text block that we want to be printed. Text in Python is considered a specific type of data called a string. Okay, so now we're going to go through and learn the different types of data. You've got the string, the variables, your Booleans, stuff like that. Well, not variables, integers and floats and doubles, which are your numbers. Let's see. Because there are a series of letters, numbers, and symbols connected in order as if threaded together by a string. Above, we printed two things that are strings and attempted to print two things that are not strings. While double quotes and single quotes are both acceptable ways to define a string, the string needs to be opened and closed by the same type of quotation mark or quote mark. We can combine multiple strings using the plus symbol, which is called concatenation. by adding your name to the print statement with the plus operator. So print hello. So hello Cindercrow Studios. And so this is going to print hello Cindercrow Studios. There is not going to be a space. Never mind, there is going to be a space in between the two words. There's a space left here. If they had not left this space like that, then the two words would be smashed together like that. Another way you can do this, if you don't want to, well, if you forget to leave the space or you need to add something, is you can do it like that as well. That's kind of the long way around, instead of just leaving a space either here or here. Multiple different ways to get the same result. As we get more familiar with Python programming language, we run into errors and exceptions. These are complaints that Python makes when it doesn't understand what you want it to do. Everyone runs into these issues, so it's a good habit to read and understand them. Here are some common errors we might run into when printing string. Mismatched quotes will cause a syntax error. Without quotes will cause a name error. So if you don't have quotes and you tell it to print something, it thinks you're trying to print a variable or a function instead of an actual string. And then with mismatched quotes, as you can see how this little close parenthesis is in yellow, it thinks that everything after this open quotation mark is part of that same quote because it hasn't been closed. If the quotes are mismatched, Python will notice this and inform you that the code has an error in its syntax because the line ended, called an EOL, or end of line, before the double quote that was supposed to close the string appeared. The program will abruptly stop running with the following message. Syntax error, end of line while scanning a string literal. This means that a string wasn't closed or wasn't closed with the same quote character that started it. So this is just explaining kind of what I went over with. Python will complain. Another issue you might run into attempting to create a string without quotes at all. Python treats words, not quotes, as command, like the print statement. If it fails to recognize these words as defined in Python or by your program elsewhere, Python will complain the code has a name error. This means that Python found what it thinks is a command, but it doesn't know what it means because it's not defined it. We've written two print statements that will raise errors. One has mismatched quotes, and the other has no quotes at all. Fix the two print statements to successfully debug the program. So we'll run it first just to see what the errors are. So we'll run print how do you make a hot dog stand, end of line while scanning the string literal. So if we take this single quote and close it with a double quote, you can see that the closed parenthesis is no longer yellow, and this statement will now print how do you make a hot dog stand, and then we'll get another error when it hits this line because Python runs everything one line at a time. So it'll start at the top and run every line from top to bottom. And so now here we have invalid syntax, which right here it'll say that you have a name error, but instead we have a syntax error. So we'll put the quotes in here like so, and now we'll run it again and we have a successful program. So now variables. So variables mean that you can store a string or a number or something inside of a container. It basically, it's an empty container that holds whatever you need it to, so that you don't have to type out the same sentence or the same number over and over again, and just call that variable later on. So like if I went number equals 5, and then I went new number equals 3, down here, instead of doing like a print 5 plus 3, I could do print number plus new number, and it would be the same thing. So like, we'll go print 5 plus 3, and then print number plus new number, if I could type. And so now this is going to print 8 twice. They're both the same thing, but done a different way. Okay, so this exercise wants us to create a variable named today's date and assign it a value that will represent today's date. So we'll go today's date equals 10, because today is the 10th. And that should be what it wants us to do. So we'll go to the next one, and it'll probably have us manipulate that variable, kind of how I showed you with the number and new number in the last one. One thing computers are capable of doing exceptionally well is performing arithmetic. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and other numeric calculations are easy to do in most programming languages, and Python is no exception. Some examples. Above are a number of arithmetic operations, each assigned to a variable. Variable will hold the final result of each operation. Combinations of arithmetical operators follow the usual order of operations, so your PEM does. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. I got lost in that train of thought. Python also offers a companion to division called the Modulo Operator. Modulo is indicated by a % sign and returns the remainder after a division is performed. So if you did 9 divided by 2, it would do 9 divided by 2, so it would be 4 with a remainder of 1. Because 4 times 4 is 8, and then you add that 1 left over, you get 9. So that would return 1, kind of like this one here. Is this number odd? It would be 7 with a remainder of 1, so it would give you 1. And so what this is telling you is if this is this number odd, you could set it up to kind of go, if this is equal to 1, then this number is odd. If it's equal to 0, then no, that number is even. This just kind of goes over what I explained. In the above code block, we use the modulo operator to find the remainder of 15 divided by 2. Since 15 is an odd number, the remainder is 1. We also check the remainder of 133 divided by 7. Since 133 divided by 7 has no remainder, that means that 133 is divisible by 7. Okay, so they want us to do product equals, we'll go 5 times 5, or 4. And now we've done that. What is the remainder when 1398 is divided by 11? So we will do remainder equals 1398 modulo 11. And we'll run this. See, I hate that they're like, do this and run it, but it's never print the results. Updating variable. Changing the content of a variable is one of the essential operations. As the flow of a program progresses, data should be updated to reflect changes that have happened. In the above example, we start with 50 fish in a local pond. After catching 10 fish, we update the number of fish in the pond to be the original number of fish in the pond, minus the number of fish caught. At the end of this code block, the variable fish in Clark's pond will equal to 40. There was something pointy on my carpet that was stabbing me in the foot. So what it does is we have the fish in Clark's pond is equal to 50. Then it prints catching fish out to the console. So over here in the black area over here, it would print catching fish. Then the number of fish caught is equal to 10. So we set this right here equals 50 and this equals 10. So now we take the fish in Clark's pond, which is equal to 50, we set it equal to that 50 minus 10. So now this equals 40. So this is now disregarded completely, and it will never, well, it won't use that 50 again. It'll now have it set to 40. And then you can do the same thing. You can catch 10 more fish, and then that will equal to 30, so on and so forth. The above example, we start with 50 fish in a local pond. After catching 10 fish, I just read that. Updating a variable by adding or subtracting a number to its original value is such a common task that it has its own shorthand to make it faster and easier to read. So, by using the plus equals or minus equals operator, it tells you to take sandwich price and set it equal to, like this one right here, it says take sandwich price, set it equal to sandwich price plus sales tax. So that is shorthand and just makes it that much easier to read. So instead of having a big long string, kind of like this over here, it simplifies it. Trying to figure out, so this covers what I just explained on that. Destruction. We're trying to figure out how much it rained in the past year. Update the annual rainfall variable to include the values from September to December. So does it really just want us to plus equals all of those, kind of like it has done here? So do you just want it to go then I'm not even gonna just mess around with typing that over and over. I'm just gonna copy it. Plus equals 10, or well, is that what they want me to do? mean, this is so redundant, wasteful, when you could just have done it like the first one, or I could do the annual rainfall plus equals September rainfall plus October plus November. You know what? I'm gonna do it that way. I'm gonna go annual rainfall plus equals plus October rainfall, if I could type, plus November, plus yeah, so September, October, November, December. Let's see if it'll let me get away with that. It might make me change it. Nope. So that's the easiest way to do it. You can also do annual rainfall plus equals, plus equals, plus equals, plus equals. Just type it out 4 times for each of those months. Most of the time, code should be written in such a way that it's easy to understand on its own. However, if you want to include a piece of information to explain a part of your code, you can use a comment. So for Python, the pound sign is what you use for a comment. So right now, anything that I write after this is ignored. So it won't do anything there. So like here, I can go city pop is the total population of the city. It'll run that, and it's that simple. It lets you add notes in or like little reminders as to what that snippet of code does. It makes it easier to read, and it makes troubleshooting later on down the line that much easier. Actually, currently, right now at work, I'm dealing with. We have this legacy code base, like it's this 15 to 30,000 line like piece of C# code. It's a monstrosity, and it's so bad. Like, it is so bad. It was written by one person, maintained by somebody else that didn't know C#. Like, they learned it on the job kind of thing to deal with this code base, and they did the best they could. But everything has kind of fallen apart on it. It's broken because there were like accounts that were being referenced in it that no longer exist, and the formatting of API calls changed. It's like the programs or services changed up the way they did everything. So this is it's absolutely broken, and there's not a single like useful comment or description of anything in the code. So my coworker and I spent 2 hours today on a conference call, just going over it and bouncing ideas off of each other, trying to like track down where this one part of the code is broken, and we came up with nothing. So by tomorrow morning, we're going to be spending another several hours working together on this, and it's just been the bane of my existence. So comments, they are a lifesaver. Use them. They are great, and you can even do something as simple. So like this one here, how I have it above the variable, you can take this and you can actually put it right after the variable. Same thing. It'll accomplish the exact same thing. It's just now, instead of it being a full line taken up where you need to like read it and then look at what's under it, read it, look at what's under it, you can just put it right there and it'll still run exactly the same. All right, numbers. So remember when I said there were 3 data types? Well, 3 real data types. You have your strings, your numbers, so like your integers, your floats, doubles, and then you have your Booleans, which is your true false values. So now we're moving on to the numbers. So it's going to be our floats, integers, floats, and doubles. The simplest kind of number in Python is an integer, which is a whole number with no decimal point. So that's obviously stated. Whole number, no decimal point. A number with a decimal point is called a float. You can define floats with numbers after the decimal point or just by including a decimal point at the end. So, like this right here, the decimal point at the end, the 10 decimal, will let it know that if you divide it by a certain number or multiply it by another decimal or anything that results in not a whole number, it'll add that to it. Now you can also define a float using scientific notation with e indicating the power of 10. So this is 1.5 to an exponent of 2. For the exercise, you are going shopping. Let's make a grocery list so you can plan your budget. Store a number of cucumbers you want to buy in a variable called cucumbers. Make sure it's at least 1 and it's the appropriate data type. Store doesn't sell partial cucumbers. So this is going to be an integer because it's a whole number. We have int cucumbers and we only need 3. Just making a small, like having a few people over for a salad. So we'll run that to get our really? Oh. I'm thinking in a different programming language. I just need cucumbers equals 3. So there are other languages where you have to have like your int or float, or I think it's Java is the one I'm thinking of, where you have to define what type of variable it is before you define the variable. So each cucumber costs 3.25 doubloons. Store the price per cucumber or in a variable called price per cucumber. We can do price per cucumber, and it equals 3.25. 3.25. Create a new variable called total cost, which is the product of how many cucumbers you're going to buy and the cost per cucumber. So this is going to be cucumbers times price per cucumber. And you need to have an equal sign in there, or else you're going to throw an error. And then finally, we're going to print and let's see if it's going to throw a syntax error, because we're doing the Python 2 specifically, but all of our print statements have been Python 3 syntax. And no syntax error. And this is a float because it's a decimal point. It's not a whole number. So that covers what data type. So in Python, when we divide two integers, we get an integer as a result. When the quotient is a whole number, this works fine. So 6 divided by 2 will return 3, which makes sense. But 7 divided by 2 will also return 3 because it doesn't deal in decimal points. So it'll return the whole number. Now, however, if the numbers do not divide evenly, the result of the division is truncated into an integer. In other words, the quotient is rounded down to a whole number. So, as I said here, 7 divided by 2 equals 3, even though it should be 3.5, because that 3.5 is rounded down to a whole number. To yield a float as the result instead, programmers often change either the numerator or the denominator, or both, to be a float. So here, 7 decimal divided by 2, that 7 decimal is now a float, therefore it will give you the 3.5 as it should, or as you would expect. Same thing, 7 divided by 2 decimal. And then here they changed both, 7 decimal divided by 2 decimal is still 3.5 the way it should be. And then you can also cast the data type that you want. So you can do float and then your number inside of it. So you have come home from the grocery store with 100 cucumbers to split amongst yourself and your 5 roommates, 6 total people. That is a lot of cucumbers. Like, what do you need that many cucumbers for? That's absolutely insane. Like 100 cucumbers is like 4 months worth of cucumbers if you're going absolutely ham with all 6 people. That cheese. So we're going to create the variable cucumbers, and that's equal to 100 cucumbers, and then the number of people is equal to 6. And then we'll run this, so we get our little check mark, and we create a variable called whole cucumbers per person. So whole cucumbers per person. That has the integer, so this is going to be cucumbers. I feel like they threw in cucumbers just to mess with like typing. Cucumbers is such an awkward word to type. So whole cucumbers is per person is equal to cucumbers divided by the number of people. So 100 divided by 6. And then we will print that to the console. So we're going to go print whole. God, I hate this word. Cucumbers per person. And we'll run this to get our check mark on this. Okay, why? Oh. So did you see how I had the slash there? In Python, that is, I believe that's an escape character. So like, if I needed to Oh, okay. Never mind. Don't mind that. In regular expression, that's an escape character. Where there are some other languages where adding a slash like that will it'll basically tell the program to ignore what the next character normally does. Like if it's a quotation mark, it'll tell it to ignore that quotation mark and treat it as a normal character instead of treating it as a quotation mark, kind of thing. Alright, back to this. You realize the numbers don't divide evenly and you don't want to throw out the remaining cucumbers. Create a variable called float cucumbers per person that holds the float result, dividing cucumbers by num people. Well, I think it'd be easier just to do... I think it'd be easier to do a modulo, but whatever. So we'll do float cucumbers per person. That is equal to... we're gonna have to do it this way. Float divided by people, then we'll print, not float, float cucumbers per person. Just like that. So by casting cucumbers as a float, because it's declared as an integer up here, I was able to get the float result up here. So we've seen how to define a string with with single quotes and double quotes. If we want a string to or span multiple lines, we can also use triple quote. Now, when a string like this is not assigned to a variable, it works as a multi-line comment. This can be helpful as your code gets more complex. So you can go like this, and now anything inside these and now it won't do anything with that. So I can do haiku like this. The old pond, a frog jumped in. Well, and because this is all ignored, it only looks at haiku. And then we can also do print the haiku. Aha, Booleans! So, I think I talked about this in the JavaScript one, but when I first started programming, Booleans is such a weird word, and I never watched like videos or any like spoken tutorials. I only did kind of like this kind of thing where I was just reading it all. So instead of like in my mind, it was always Booleans, like broke it down into the two words that it obviously looks like instead of the Boolean. Booleans were actually discovered, named, first thought of by, I think the name is, I think it's like George Boole. Yes, English mathematician, philosopher, and logician, whose short career was spent as the first professor of mathematics at Queen's College. So instead of it being a Boolean, it's Boole for this guy right here, and he's the one that first came up with the Boolean algebra. So fun little tidbit there. It's a special case of an integer that's true responds to 1, false responds to 0. It's like binary or anything else. It's on or off. Someone introduce themselves to you using commands in script.py, read the comments, and then create a variable called age is 12 and set it to true or false depending on if this person's age is 12. So we're going to go age is 12, and that's going to be equal to false because it clearly says right here they're 21 years old. Then we're going to create name is Maria, so that's going to be equal to true because it says, hi, I'm Maria and I live in script.py. I'm an expert Python coder. I'm 21 years old and I plan to program cool stuff forever. And so name is Maria is equal to true because the person's name is Maria. Now we can move on to the next one. Value error. Python automatically assigns a variable the appropriate data type based on the value it is given. A variable with the value 7 is an integer, 7 decimal is a float, 7 in quotation marks is a string. Sometimes we will want to convert variables into different data types. For example, we want to print out an integer as part of a string. We would want to convert that integer to a string first. We can do that using str in parentheses. So it's the same thing as earlier with the cucumbers, how we cast the integer as a float. You can do the same thing here, and you're casting that integer as a string. You can't do a string to int or float. That will throw an error because you can't do math by a word, but you can write out a number as part of a sentence. So here they say age equal to 13, print IM plus string, or cast age as a string, then plus years old. And that's kind of the same thing. Like if I went print 13 plus str 13 in parentheses, instead of printing out 26 like you would expect, it would print out 1313 or 1313. Yeah, 1313. Because instead of adding the two, it's taking the two different data types and just smashing them together into one string. Because that string will supersede all, because all integers floats can be a string, but a string cannot be an integer or a float. Well, okay, so I'm mostly right on that. But if your string is a number, then you can cast that back into the data type of, like if it's a whole number, you can cast it into integer or float, or if it's a decimal point, you can cast it back into a float. But you can't take an actual word and cast it into an integer. So like if I went print int word, we'll just do that. This will give me an error. Invalid literal for int with base 10 word. So that won't work. Now I can go print string 10 and it'll print 10. Now if I go print string 10 plus 10, kind of like I was saying, it cannot concatenate a string and an integer. Oh, interesting. I feel like I knew that. Okay. Okay. There are some languages where you can actually do that. I thought this was one of them. I was mistaken. If we have a string like 7 and we want to perform arithmetic operations on it, we must convert it to a numeric data type. So I can do that, and that'll run. And that does the math of 7 plus 15 is 22. Okay, so now let's actually do this. Alright, so they want product equal to float 1 times float 2, right? Yes. Create a string called big string. Equals. So the fun thing about Codecademy is they will give you the X instead of approving it if you like have a spelling error or a typo. You set big string 2, the product was X, when it should be the product was 10. So that was my bad. I didn't finish reading the prompt. I just did what it told me to do and clicked run. Well, I did half of what it told me to do and then clicked run. So what they want me to do is I'm guessing that is exactly what they want me to do. Yep. Yep. That was it. They wanted me to do that one thing. So review. So far we've looked at print statements, how to create, modify, and use variables, arithmetic operations. Excuse me. Sorry. I've been up since way too early this morning, and I didn't get enough sleep last night. And also talking a whole bunch makes me really, really yawny. How to use comments, data types, and converting between data types. Let's do all of these things all at the same time. Cool. Create a variable called spill completed. Set it to Python syntax. Run that. Create a variable called exercise completed. Completed equals 13. Points per exercise, set it equal to 5. So point per exercise equals 5. Nailed it. Run. Create a variable. Point total. Yeah, point total. Okay, you can't tell that like I'm shaking the hell out of my desk. Well, you can, but not so much. Point total, set it equal to 100. Equals 100. Good for that. Update point total to be what it was before. So point total plus equals exercises completed times points per exercise. Run. Add a comment that says the amount of points for each exercise may change, comma, because points don't exist yet. So it's like whose line? The points are made up and nothing matters. Is it really getting shitty because I prefer to leave a space? Yes. You know what I mean by I said they're like super literal? Print I got plus need to stringify it. Plus hooray! And now we have finished Chapter 1. Copnet. So, we're going to practice syntax in Python so you can hone your skills and feel confident taking them to the real world. Why, you ask? You've done a great job so far on your quest to learn Python. Let's build something to solidify your newfound knowledge. What's next? Calculator? Tipping? More Python? You got this! So, this is essentially because they wouldn't do it with real live entry because they haven't taught you how to post something to the console and have it ask for an input. So it wouldn't be that, I don't think. I think it would be probably something as simple as like total equals this plus tax equals this, and then you multiply the. So actually, let's grab my Visual Studio Code over here, and we'll mock it up real quick. We'll do a real quick little mock-up when this opens. Oh, that is so bright. Why is that so bright? Thank you for dark mode. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, file, close folder. File. We'll just do a new file real quick. Okay. Really? Off this. We'll do a new folder. We'll do chip calculator. And I want to save it as all files. Open this. Calculator.py, because .py is the Python extension. And I see how it has it set up as a Python thing. So we can do total amount equals. All right, we'll do tab equals, we'll say $25. We'll leave it there. Really kite. And then, so after we have that tab equals $25, we'll have tax, which is equal to, we'll just do 0.06. So tax is worth. Oh, don't want that. So now we'll do total is equal to tab so the total is equal to actually we'll do total tax equal to tab times tax. Really, I need to just uninstall kite. So we'll do total tab is equal to tab plus total tabs. Then we'll print our total tab. Although I'm doing this in Python 3, I need to remember that after. And so now if we run this in my console down here, we have $26.50. That's not right. We'll save that and then we'll rerun this. No, I was right. 0.06, because if the tab is $100, it should be $106. Yep, cool. So we'll save this. And now we will do tip is equal to, we'll do the tab before tax times 0.20, because 20% is a pretty good tip percentage in the United States. And so now we can do tab plus tip is equal to total tab plus tip, right? Yeah. And we can print tab plus tip. And to utilize the casting of integers and everything into string, we'll do print your total bill is, we'll do plus the string of tab plus tip. And now we'll print that out. And your total bill is $126. And now we can change this. We'll clear this down here. $12.60. Say we had a crazy night and it's $384 was our total. Like right on the money. After that, our total tab will be $407. Which, no, $483.84. Yeah, so 400. That's a what, $76 tip on the $400 tab. So that's essentially that tip calculator that they wanted us to pay to do. And in 13 lines of code, I did that. And it's only 13 because of formatting. I don't think everything just smashed all together. So that's kind of the scope of the paid projects. And I think as I'm doing this on stream, I'm just going to pop over to Visual Studio Code like this and just kind of logic and reason those out and just work on those so that you can see kind of what it's all about. Alright, so we'll get back over here and we'll start the next lesson. So this doesn't feel right, because it told us about strings already. So why are we going right back to this? Strings contain letters, numbers, symbols. They're essentially what we are already doing. We were working in string. So in the above example, we create a variable name instead of string value Brian. We also set the age to a string variable of 19 and food to cheese. Strings need to be within quotes, which we already knew from the previous lesson. So create a new variable and set it to Brian. Or create a new variable Brian, set it to hello life. So another thing that I have noticed in Codecademy's tutorials is that they're huge Monty Python fans. So The Life of Brian, a Monty Python movie. They've made like multiple references to like the Ministry of Silly Walks and Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So there will be little like tidbits in all of the exercises for stuff like that. Well, there we go. Assign your variables below, each one on its own line. So Caesar is equal to Graham, or Graham. We'll do Praline equal to John. And Viking equal to Teresa. Just like that. But you can also knock down the different lines like that. It's all preference. If I'm declaring a whole bunch of variables, I'll usually leave them all clumped together like this. There's no point spacing them all out. There are some characters that cause problems. For example, there's a snake in my... Oh, hey, remember earlier when I was talking about escape characters? There we go. There's one of them. This code breaks because Python thinks the apostrophe in theirs ends the string and use the backslash to fix the problem like this. Fix the string in the editor. This isn't flying, it's falling with style. And now because I have escaped that apostrophe, it doesn't see it as the close of the string, and it will print it out like it's a normal character. Well, no, it won't, because there's no print statement. But now I can do this. Print. And it'll print it, just like that. So, another thing you can do is this is another trick. So instead of using an escape character, you can mix your quotation marks. This will print the exact same thing. And they'll probably actually talk about that on the next slide. Oh. It's weird that they glossed right over that. So if you mix your quotation marks, so let's go back one. So I can also do print, use a single quotation, and now I have the double quotation marks. So if you use single and double interchangeably like that, or in conjunction with each other, you can negate having to escape something. So that's a little tip, I think. Do I actually need to turn on my light behind me? I think I'm good. You know what? I'll let it ride. If it gets bad, just let me know. Also, I'm going to be taking all of these, well, not these VODs, but I'm going to be creating a YouTube series as well over at Cindercrow Studios on YouTube, so that you can go back over this and you don't have to rely on a VOD. I'll probably get rid of like the cam in the lower corner and the social rotation, stuff like that, and it'll be a much cleaner edited version, maybe with timestamps or something like that to make it easier. And I can go into more in-depth explanation of things and kind of break it out even further than I am on this. So that's something that you can also kind of look for if you have any questions, or if you're going over and doing this on your own and you're kind of stuck. So those will also be available. So each character in a string is assigned a number. This number is called the index. Check out the diagram in the editor. In the above example, we create a new variable called C and set it to the string of C, the character at index 0 of the string of cats. Next, we create a new variable called N and set it to N, the character at index 3 of the string Ryan. So indexes always start at 0. So your first item in an index, whether it's a string or integer or even just like a piece of data stored in an array, it'll start at 0. So the very first one will be 0, your second one will be 1, third one will be 2, so on and so forth. It's a little confusing at first when you start going around with or using it, but it becomes second nature after a little bit. So it's 0 indexed, essentially. On line 13, assign the variable fifth letter equal to the fifth letter of the string Monty. So we want to set it to the fifth letter of the string Monty, Monty Python, learning Python. Once again, the people that did Codecademy are huge fans of Monty Python. They reference it quite often as you're going around. So the fifth letter in Monty So here's the thing. So do they want me to set it to the 5th letter of the string using the 0 index, or do they want me to set it to the 5th letter of the string and then use like, how do they want me to do this? Because whether it's a T or Y, oh, I'm way overcomplicating this. My tired brain. So I was looking at their Python up here and going, do they want me to take the T or the Y and grab it in do they want me to grab it and throw it in like the T or the Y using this? But no, what they really want me to do is go Monty at an index of, so they want the 5th letter, so the 5th letter is going to be at index of 4 because it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then print 5th letter. So that's going to print the Y like it wants us to. So there is that. See, I overcomplicated it because I started looking at this. And I was like trying to jump through hoops of logic, but my idiot self I do Commander Thrashton. I just was in the middle of explaining something. I apologize. How are you tonight? Yeah, I feel like that's everybody's kind of status. Nah, I'm just going through and kind of walking anybody that comes in and joins in through Codecademy's lessons. I actually use Python on a quasi-regular basis for my job. See, now that we know how to store strings, let's see how we can change them using string methods. Focus on 4 string methods: length, lower, upper, and string. What do you mean by primitive stuff like this? Like the early Codecademy stuff, or oh, yeah. So I'm actually, yeah, I'm working on at work a program that makes multiple API calls to one of our systems, and then let's see, it's making API calls to the systems to run reports, and then it's taking a PDF, extracting the text from it, editing the titles and headers on the cover pages, and then rewriting the PDF and inserting it at index 0 of each report, and then depositing them in the folders for another department, and then also into a specific folder on a web server so that our customers can access their monthly reports. yeah, it's pretty primitive stuff, but I'm doing this mostly as like a teaching tool to help people that don't know. And then I'm going to be recording this all onto YouTube, but without like Basecamp, chat, or any of that stuff, and with a much better script than whatever random tangents come to mind. Yep, it's educational is what I'm going for. And that's kind of what I'm shooting for with this channel. Like tomorrow night I'll be doing some game dev in Godot engine and working on something there. All right. So what are you working on? Okay. Yeah, I work in Python. A while back, I did a series. I did the Codecademy JavaScript, and then like I messed around in some modding Minecraft, so some working Java. So open source is so much fun. What kind of project is it? That's actually kind of interesting. No, I've never messed around in lists. I've stuck to like I guess the big money makers. Okay, yeah, I just pulled it up and I just pulled up a quick search to kind of look at the syntax and everything. It looks interesting. How hard was that to learn? I suppose that's fair. If it's something you're interested in, it's easier. Let's see, call lower on parrot and after print. Really? I'm an idiot. I am an idiot. Yeah. Well, if you use an IDE, that makes. I mean, does it have like syntax highlighting in IDEs to make it easier? So you can keep track of kind of all your open and close parentheses. Yeah, then that wouldn't be too terrible, as long as you can keep track of it. Oh. Now it wants parrot.upper. That's fair. Now, programming languages are all so interesting. They each have their own little quirks. Like, the very first language that I learned was Java. And, oh my goodness, that was just an absolute nightmare to kind of mess around with. Then we want to cast pi into a string. And then we're going to print 3.14 as a string. Oh, absolutely. Hey, thanks for the follow. I'll definitely check you out. How often do you stream? Alright, well, I'll bounce over to your page when I'm done streaming, and I'll set up notifications, and when you go live, I'll check you out. Huh. I didn't even actually look at what the variable was. So, I've noticed that Codecademy, especially on the Python stuff, likes to reference Monty Python. And I didn't even notice the Ministry of Silly Walks on this one. But I was talking about it earlier, like 20 minutes ago or so, or something like that. Yeah, because they did, oh, it was actually right around when you popped in, when they had Monty and Python, and they were messing around with that. And there we go. Tell Python to print Monty Python. Yep. Just like that. Let's see, assign the string ping to the variable. Machine goes on line 5. All right. Machine goes ping. typos are great. I love them. Yep, see you around. Thanks for stopping in. Alright, string concatenation, which is also something that I brought up earlier. Fair, yeah. I always forget about it. Concatenate string spam and egg on line 3, just like the example above. If I don't fix spaces, it is going to fuck everything up. And then, so we go back to what it was doing earlier, where you have the explicit string conversion, or where you're casting an integer or a float to a string. So this right here is going to throw an error because it's trying to give you the sum of a string and a float. So it cannot concatenate the two different types. So what we need to do is take this 3.14 and cast it as a string, like so. And now it will just concatenate them like we did in the last little lesson. So it took that float right here, that 3.14, and told Python to turn it into a string so that it can add the two objects that are of the same type. Then I'm, let's see, string formatting with interesting. Okay. So yeah, I always forget about this. Always, like every time I'm working in Python, I will forget about this. So in Python, there's a thing called an f string, which allows you to do like, so you can do print f and then string. So like it'll print that just like a string. Or I can do like this, add curly braces and do string 1 I believe it's like that. I believe that's actually how well, essentially it's the same thing as this. So this is going to print, let's not go to Camelot, it's a silly place. Or 'tis a silly place. Which, one more Monty Python quote from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So this %s is telling it to take string 1 and put it there, and then at the next %s take string 2 and put it there. If you'd like to print a variable that is an integer, you can pad it with zeros using %02d. The 0 means pad with zeros. The 2 means to pad 2 characters wide. The d means the number is a signed integer. Can be positive or negative. So what that does is, like here, it's print 3-02d, so a padded number of day. Day is 6, so they want this to be 2 places, 2 characters wide. So that means that this here in the middle will be 2 characters wide. So it'll be a 0 and then a 6. If you did 03, it'd be 006, so on, so forth. String formatting with %, part 2. Remember, we used the % operator to replace the %s placeholders with variables in parentheses. You need the same number of %s terms in the string as the number of variables in parentheses. So name, quest, color. Yet another Monty Python quote. So we need to replace these here with this. And we need to make sure we have 3 of them, because we have 3 variables over here. So now this will say, so your name is Alex, your quest is teaching Python, and your favorite color is blue. And I bet you it will give me crap if I were to replace these. And we need to put this there. Ta-da! Ta-da! And now for something completely familiar. Learned a lot in this unit, including 3 ways to create strings, string methods, length, upper, lower, printing a string, and advanced printing techniques. Line 3, create the variable myString and set it to a string you'd like. MyString equals, just for funsies, is better than yours. On line 4, use the length. Print the length of my string. So line 4, print length my string. On line 5, print the uppercase version of my string. Print my string dot upper. Nailed it. Up next. Apply your learning with a project, a tip calculator. Didn't we just do that over here? We did. We did that over here. Are they just really gonna hammer on that for like X amount of time? think they are. I really think they are. A lot of times you want to keep track when something happened. You can do so in Python using datetime. Okay, so now we're getting into importing different Python modules. Cool. So they're going to import datetime. Cool. Well, I was trying to do something neat, but whatever. We'll learn that next. All because I forgot that. I mean, it's the same thing, I just did it a different way around, but whatever floats their goat, I guess. Alright. Actually, that doesn't need parentheses. So now equals datetime dot now, we can print now dot year to get the year. Then print out the month and now the day. Really? They're just gonna like just hammer this in. It's like, hey, this is how you do it. Oh, okay, okay. I'm like, today is the 10th, but it's pulling it in UTC, where that is 8 hours ahead of me, I think. Something like that. 5 hours ahead. I'm in Central Standard Time, which is what is UST currently? UTC. God, don't. Yep, there we go. It is 1:49 on Thursday of March 11th, whereas in Central Time it is 7:49 on 3/10. Jesus. That was rough. Print the current date in the format of so on and so forth. Okay, so we want to use the percent sign. We want percent What do we want? Go to B. And these guys here. Like that. O2D slash percent O2D slash percent before D like that. Then we want to do percent. Then parentheses we want now dot 1 comma now dot day comma now dot year. So because we told it pad that with 2 zeros, pad this with 2 zeros, pad this with 4 zeros, it gives us our nice little format we want over there. Do the same for hour, minute, and second. Okay, so we want this, this. So change the string. We want now dot hour, minute, and second. Like that. Okay, so they want us to do B slash percent O2D slash percent O4D base, and now we need now dot month, now dot day, now dot year, that's a lot of text. A lot of text for just saying print out the date and time like that. Nope. Okay, so we'll remember this Python Mad Libs, and we'll do that after we go over the point where they show us the user inputs, because you can't do a Mad Libs without a user input. because that would just be dumb. So we'll just start the next lesson. And we'll put the Mad Libs in the back of our little brains, and once we've gotten far enough in this that we have all of those explained, we'll go ahead and we'll do a Mad Libs program. I'll just do it off to the side instead of having the pro project, and we'll go through and we'll figure it out ourselves. Alright, I think I am going to take a minute or two, get up, go, like, stretch my legs, take off my hoodie, really warm in this room. And yeah, I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Alright, I am back. I am freshly de-hoodied and ready to get back at this. yeah, when I'm streaming, I close my office door, and it gets really warm in here, like ridiculously warm. All right. Just like in real life, sometimes we'd like our code to be able to make decisions. The Python programs we've written so far have had one-track mind. They can add two numbers or print something, but they don't have the ability to pick one of these outcomes over the other. Control flow gives us this ability to choose among outcomes based on what else is happening in the program. Check out the code editor. You'll see the type of program you'll be able to write once you've mastered control flow. Click run to see what happens. So before I click run, I just want to walk you through what this does, and we'll predict what it's going to print. So right here in define clinic, we're defining a function or a method. So what it's doing is it's taking all of these instructions inside it and storing it inside this clinic here. So when this is used, it makes it so we can reuse all of this later. So what it's going to do is it's going to print, you've just entered the clinic to this console over here. And then it's going to print, do you take the door on the left or the right? And then here, it's going to, as a variable, save whatever you type. So it's going to let you type something into it. That's what this raw input does. So this raw input is the one thing that I was waiting for to do the Mad Libs. So for the Mad Libs, it would give a sentence and then save that raw input to probably an array. And then, or it would save it to like how we did the %s and then whatever to fill in the blanks of a string. It would do the same thing. So it would be, we would save each raw input to a different variable. Actually, let's bounce over to this real quick. We'll close this. And I'm just going to open a folder, and in that same project, I'm just going to do a new folder, and it's going to be Codecademy. Actually, let me make sure I don't have one already. Okay, cool. And we'll put everything in here. So we'll select this folder. Let's add a file. We're going to do madlibs.py. Right, so from here, we would come up with a story or something. Let's do, well, we'll go to the Mad Libs. Is there a way to just like I'll grab this real quick. This is me just cheating. I don't know. Okay, so we'll do story equals this, and we'll go back over. I'm just gonna toss this over here so that I can reference it. So we'll do a vacation is when you take a trip to some place. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19. 19 total inputs. Just to remember that. So we'll do that, and we'll set it up so that for each one of these 19 inputs, we print a command and we have each one of these inputs set up. So it'll be input 1 equals raw input. And I think they have it so in raw input. Yes, that's right. It'll be raw input. And you put a string in here. Please enter an adjective. Then we'll do dot lower on that. Kind of how they did it in here. Type left or right, hit enter. Yep. Then we'll grab this and we'll copy it for the ease of doing this 19 times. 2 is an adjective. Then we'll go back home and go 3. So adjective, the noun. And we'll go back home, and this is input 4. Another noun. Plural noun. So this is going to be tedious. So on and so forth. So we're going to keep doing this for all of the inputs. And so now when you save this, I should be able to run it. Why is raw input not defined? Raw input should be defined. Interesting. So why is raw input not defined? Is it different in Python 3? Okay, is it not raw input? Just input? Let's find out. Okay. So apparently in Python 3 it is just input, not raw input, which is my bad. But anyways, so I'll just, for the sake of ease here, I'm just gonna go I need to be down here to make this work. Interesting. So I think we'll continue through this, and when we finish this module, we'll come back around to finishing up that Madlib, just to kind of limit the sake of distraction. I think we might do the next stream. We'll work on the Madlib first and then jump back into this, or we can keep track of the different projects that are the pro projects and just do those all at the end of this. I'm not sure which one works better or would be easier or more coherent, so I think I'll take a little bit of time to kind of think on that, and then we'll go from there. So for here, getting back to kind of the point of this one, they have a method here that prints two things, and it asks you for an input where you enter left or right, and then so this is what it is it's the method here. So it defines it here. It's saying this is what it all contains, and then it goes, or has you run through, and it gives you a choice here where you enter left or right, and if your answer is one of these, if it's left or L, it'll print this one. If you answer right or R, it'll print this statement here. If you answer any of or anything that's not these four choices, it'll tell you that you didn't print left or right, and then it'll rerun this method to start it back at the beginning, and then this down here tells it to run in the first place. So if I run this, and you can see how it says type left or right and hit enter. If I went wall, I need to click over here. I don't know where I printed that, but if I go wall, it'll tell me I didn't pick left or right, like it says right here, and then it'll rerun this entire method and start me back at the beginning. So now if I go right, Of course, this is the argument room. I've told you that already. And that's where it says right here. Or no, that says that right here. Of course, this is the argument room. I've told you that already. If I run it again, I can hit left. And this is the verbal abuse room. You heap of parrot cropping. So it'll kind of run it through what it does, and then if you don't give it the answer it's looking for, it'll just start it over. It's controlling the flow of how the program runs to kind of get you the desired results, because you can't always account for how the end user is going to interact with it. So you need to have something that will basically, it's a catch-all. If they do something unexpected, it lets them try again, kind of thing. So compare closely. Let's start with the simplest aspect of control flow, comparators. There are 6. So this one is equal to, because when you're defining a function, you can use like this right here. This is telling it that bool1 equals the value of true, where this is telling you this is equal to. So it's comparing. So what it would do, so this is an if, elif, or else statement. So if they don't answer one of these two, it'll check to see if they answered one of these two. And if they didn't answer any of those, then it will do this. It'll print the you didn't pick left or right, try again. And then it'll restart this function itself. So at the very start, whenever you start it, it prints off these 2 lines and then asks you to enter something. So if you continue answering outside of the 4 expected answers, it'll just run over and over and over again. And then this final one is just calling that method. It only gets defined once. So this is just telling it this clinic here contains everything underneath it, and then this here is saying, hey, run everything that's inside of clinic. So I can take it and I can do this again, and now it'll go through it twice. So I can go left, or click over here, go left, and then you can see it ran the resolution of that first one and then started the second one. And then here, because I've satisfied the requests for both of the times that it ran, the first and the second, it has exited out of that method and the program has come to a close. Then coming back to this, we have the equal to. So it's comparing 2 numbers. So 2 is equal to 2, which is a true statement, or 2 is equal to 5, which is obviously a false statement because 2 is not equal to 5. The exclamation point equals is not equal to. So this is 2 does not equal 5, so that's true. Okay, yeah, C# is a completely different animal from Python. I was talking about it earlier. Currently, in my job, we have this C# program. It was written and designed by one person, and the thing has to be like 30,000 lines of code, spanning probably a good 200 different solutions or C# files. And when the guy that wrote it left our company, it was handed off to somebody who didn't know C#. And so she did like the best she could to maintain it, but there's no documentation, there's no like comments or anything into it or in it as to what it does or why it was done the way it was. And when the previous developer left and we eliminated her accounts, everything in that entire file or application broke, because it was using some of her accounts as like the service accounts to integrate with other things. And so now myself and the new developer have spent probably a good 40 to 80 hours just in conference calls working on it, trying to figure out where is broken to clean it up and move everything over to our own to enterprise solutions instead of custom done. So this application queries every single one of our customers' network performance and our network monitoring tools, writes the monthly reports that we send out to the customers, presents all of that data on a customer facing web page dashboard, and then moves it to a MongoDB, and then also ingests it into our Splunk environment, which is another kind of database which you can use to write real-time queries, create dashboards, create more customer reports, and just easily search everything. And it was kind of written as a stopgap before our company had implemented Splunk. So Splunk does most of the same things already. And so now it's just fixing what's broken to kind of, it's more of a band-aid fix to get everything going while we work on migrating away from that. So it's been a real pain in the ass. For the most part, yeah. It's mostly run off of batch files that are set up in another Windows server that runs off of a task scheduler to take care of all of these processes. And what I want to do is set it up so that Splunk handles the entire backend, all of the database and everything, and then controls all of that automation and all of the API connections between all of our different systems. So it's been a big, long process and a giant headache and a thorn in my side for about a year. But we'll get there eventually, and then hopefully it'll make my job easier, and I'll have a lot less headaches at work. So it's a smallish company. The company I work for manufactures, sells, and supports microwave radios. And without getting into too much detail or naming names or locating where I'm at and everything, that's what they do. Let's see. Less than, equal to, greater than, or equal to. It's all different comparison. Microwave radios. So it's kind of line of sight communication. So you have your cell towers and everything on those big towers, if you ever see a like big circle like drum looking dish, that's a microwave dish, and it's used to it's essentially like an Ethernet cable but over the air. And so it's used to send very high volumes of data very long distances when you can't like lay down copper wiring or fiber or something like that. It's used a lot in not really right. I do some development, but I mostly do like data analytics and stuff like that. But it's definitely fun and it's challenging. Like the programming stuff that I do is more or less just hobby level, not so much like enterprise or anything. I do a lot of like automation and integration using existing systems. Like I have some patchwork, like hacky pieces of code that take care of some of that, but it's nothing that like is really impressive. Let's see. So what kind of programs do you write? Equal to 2 times 50, so that'll stay true. Is it just stuff for like yourself, or is it something you do for work, or? Okay. So is it going to be something that's done in a game engine, or is it all like self-wrote code or self-written code and just its own separate environment? Okay, that's kind of cool. Like I do a little bit of game development. It's one of the things that I'm working on. Actually tomorrow night's stream is going to be like game dev in the Godot engine. So what language are you using? Oh, you said C#, right? Okay. So is it like you pass a string through it, it encrypts it, then sends it off and decrypts it later? Minus 10, that's false. 10 plus 17, the 3 to the power of 16, that is false. 1 to the power of 2 is less than equal to negative 1, also false. 40 times 4, that's kind of cool. Do you have it on like a GitHub or something? thanks for the follow. I do have a Discord. I don't have it like completely set up and configured or anything. But once I do, I'll have a link down in my About Me. If you want to shoot me like a whisper on Twitch, I can get it that way as well. So make me false. 1 is equal to 5. Make me true. To go 26 is greater than 25. Make me false. 9 plus 5 not equal 13 plus 1. Make me true. Like, it's so stupid. Like, these little, hey, create a Boolean that evaluates to what it should is, like, I freeze up in this. It's the dumbest thing. Make me true. Nine is greater than equal to 9 times 1. Run. Nailed it. First try. And Booleans are where my brains start to break. False and false is equal to true. No, I think that's equal to false, actually. So, minus that is. They're going to be false. Um, 19 modulo 4, so 300 divided. The true and false, I believe, is false. God, this is this stupid stuff. Alright, cool. Once I'm done streaming, I will check it out. Let's see. So this evaluates to true. And so you're true. True and true is true. Okay, this stuff absolutely breaks my brain. So false and anything else will always return false. true and true will return true. True and false will return false. And that 4 is greater than or equal to 16 to the power of 0.5, or to the 0.5th power. Then this just broke my brain right here. But that goes back to this table. True, true is true. True and false is false. False and true is false. False and false is false. But that's when you're using an and statement. With an or statement, true or true is true. True or false is true. False or true is true. False or false is false. And then not just flips it on its head. So true is false. Yep, exactly. So that is, it took me a second. It's been a long day. It's almost 9 o'clock here. I started work at 7 a.m. this morning. Exactly, so that was 2 is equal to -2, is what it essentially boils down to. So that's a false. So you immediately know that that's a false statement. Yep. Then that's like here. It is, you can do all of this math. So this right here in Python is a modulo. So 19 divided by 4, it takes 4 times 4 goes into 16. 4 times 5 goes into 20, obviously. So it goes 19 divided by 4. It'll go into it 4 times, the remainder of 3. So this is 3 does not equal 300 divided by 10 divided by 10. So 300 divided by 10 is going to be your 30 divided by 10 is 3. So this is saying 3 does not equal 3. Which is false. So false and false obviously is false. Then this is saying -1. Well, this is saying 1 to the 2nd power negative is less than 2 to the 0th power. So 0. And 10 with a modulo of 10, which is 0, is less than or equal to 20 minus 10 times 2. So 0 is greater than or equal to 0. So both of these are true. And sorry about that. Nightbot was overzealous, or Stream Element was overzealous. Yeah, so essentially it's going through and running the comparison. Yeah, I don't know either. That was really weird. Yeah, so I went through and I eventually came to the right solution on everything. It just, these ones, I don't know why they get so complicated with it when it's just show this is how it works. So this obviously is false. So we'll just grab the easy one real quick. That's true, because true or false is always true. This is also where like basic math is just right out the window. Yeah, and they're running through like just here are all the operands that you can use. I'm an idiot. Really? Not true is equal to false. Yep. Not false is true, and not true is false. So not, so this is 25. So this is false, so that's going to be true. So this is 1 is less than equal to 0. So you're going to be true because you're not false. Then it's actually not that bad. Like, these lessons are more of a pain in the ass than most of the Python that I've had to deal with. Like, they try to throw every last little thing that you could expect to encounter at you in these, and still don't cover like a lot of the really complicated but also really cool stuff that it does. And these, they specifically try to trip you up like as much as they can. Like, not is evaluated first, and is evaluated next, or is last. So not and or. So true or not false. So true or true and false. Yep. So if you're working on like platformers and stuff like that, knowing math is like absolutely vital, because it's a lot of math, like a lot of math. Like it's ridiculous. I've gone through and followed so many tutorials and set up so many things and everything, but it's still it's ridiculous. Were you doing it in a... So I've found game engines, especially the ones that like are free to use, which is, I think most of them these days, make it that much easier because there are so many educational resources available on YouTube. Okay, yeah, so I first started in Unity when I wanted to do game dev with just I went through so many of the tutorials that Brackeys did to learn, and I created some neat things, some not so neat things. Like I see if I can find it. Yeah, like in Unity, I started making a couple different games. Actually, let's hop over to this for a second. Hold on that up here. Okay. Yeah, so I was messing around with a game that I wanted to make. Like, it was a kind of an infinite runner type thing. So it's this one here, and it's just we'll knock this out. And so like I spent so long working on this thing and trying to get it like set up and done, and trying to get like art for it that didn't suck and everything. And it was an adventure. And I did that in Unity. And then I moved over to Godot because it uses a similar language to Python, so it's a lot of like the same syntax. And after doing that, so I want to do mostly like 2D games or like old pixel art style games, I kind of never looked back. Honestly, if you want to go back to like Unity and everything, I believe Brackeys actually has a tutorial for Unity platformer. so that link there, that's the Bracky's platformer tutorial, and his channel has so many useful links, especially if you want to do something in Unity. He worked with somebody else to do a 3D like MMO click to move style like RPG, and he has an entire tutorial series on that. He was super helpful in like breaking stuff down and understanding it, and he also goes through and explains like the math behind it and why it works the way it does. So it's definitely worth checking out. Order of operator. And I think I am going to try to get through the last 6 of these, and then I'm probably going to call it a stream after that, because it's getting to be like 9 o'clock and the alarm goes off at 5 a.m., which sucks. So let's see. True or not false, and false returns true. So false and true is true, which means this evaluates true. False and not true, or true. So false and false, or true. And or true always evaluates as true. Yep. I know with Godot you can set up an input map for, you can map like the WASD and the controller inputs to like the same to kind of make it so it's universal for each. True and false or false, so oh, that would be interesting. Let's see. So not true. So not false or false and false. So you also evaluate true. That's one of the, like, I want to do my own game like completely, like 100%, and that's music is going to be the part that absolutely gets me. I'm kind of musically inclined. Like I know how to, like, at a very basic beginner level, play a couple instruments, and it would just be putting down the time to actually learn like music composition. False or false, which means you are false. Will do. Okay, so check my value for Boolean 1. So they say not is evaluated first, so not true, so false. And is next. Oh, false and true is false, so false or false. God. Yep, that's my bad. So now, let's see, bool 2. So false and false, or true. So the or true here makes that one evaluate to true. So false or false evaluates to false. Not false is true, so true and true is true. So not true is false. Not false is true. So true or false and false. So the true or evaluates true. And true and true is true. And not true is false. So false or false is false. And that does it. Got my little green check. Oh. Let's see, we'll give you the expected result. Use each one at least once. Make me true. Alright, fine. True and true. Path of least resistance. Make me false. False or false. Make me true. Not false and true. Make me true. True is equal to not false. Really? Really? Okay, why don't you like the not there? This is just not like the... Fine, whatever. Why didn't it like the not syntax there? Is it evaluated true? You know, whatever. I don't care. That would be fun to do all of the opposites, except for the fact that then I would have to undo it and redo it all properly in order to move on. Oh hey, we're on to if statements. We circle all the way back around to where we started. I suppose that's true. Answer equals to left. If answer equals left, set the response equal to yes. Run. Cool. See ya. Alright, let's get some practice with if statements. Remember the syntax looked like this. Yes, I'm well aware of if statements because I use them all the time. You'll see two functions. Don't worry about anything unfamiliar. We'll explain it soon enough. If true is equal to true, return success. if nailed it. It's like, I want it to be educational. I want to teach people things, but at the same time, like running through all of the super basic stuff over and over again, and then I'm gonna have to do it again because I'm putting out like cleaned up videos on my YouTube with an actual script. So like it's so monotonous when it's stuff that I already know. But at the same time, like I want to make programming and different languages accessible to as many people as possible, because fostering that creativity that comes from knowing how to build stuff is just like so awesome to me. And once again, they keep going with the Monty Python. They don't need to leave so many spaces. Also, documentation, super important. Oh, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, right now I just have the VODs from when I did the JavaScript Codecademy, but I intend to actually put out like a whole bunch more content. I'm trying to get a little bit more serious on all of this. So every Wednesday, I'm gonna do like Codecademy or different like coding tutorial thing, and then I'll do cleaned up versions of all of those later on my YouTube. And then Thursdays, I'm gonna do game dev, where I work on just miscellaneous projects, and eventually it'll be working on my RPG from start to finish. And I may or may not upload those VODs to YouTube, I don't know. And then, like, for just a bit of a break on Sundays, my wife and I are going to be playing Stardew Valley on stream. And then if it starts to kind of take off, I'll add more. Oh yeah, so I started out, I wanted to make a mod pack for my friends and I for a Minecraft server, and I worked on that. That's what that is. It's a lot of trial and error, because I honestly didn't know what I was doing, but I'll be damned if I wasn't gonna quit. And then eventually I quit. But it's still one of those things, it's in my back burner to finish up. I'll get to it eventually. It's a lot more complicated than you would think. Like, changing up skins or sounds or anything is kind of easy, but when you want to add like actual new stuff into it, it gets pretty difficult pretty fast. And the people that make like the crazy like the Sky Factory or the mods of like all of those, like, oh my god, they have so much patience, or they are just so good with Java, it's ridiculous. It's not that bad, or not that hard to do. The answer is less than 5. I think that's what they want. Yep, cool. Okay, so if grade is greater than or equal to 90, they get an A. If this grade is greater than or equal to 80 and less than equal to 89, and because I am a true developer and I'm lazy, we can just do this, and you are 70 to 79, and you are 65 to 69. Nice. And really, oh, idiot. I'm an idiot. There it is. That'll do it. Alright, so I need to keep track of this. So let's actually we'll do that. So Codecademy has the okay, never mind then. They do the to try and get you to subscribe to their pro platform. They have a bunch of like projects that are pro only to go through, and when I encounter one of those, I'm creating a project over here, and I'm just going through and doing them on my own to kind of just add to the lesson. But yeah, I think at this point, I've hit the point. I'm probably heading to bed in the next 45 minutes, so I'm gonna call it quits for the stream. I know, right? But yeah, so I'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time. I'm trying to do like 6 to 9 o'clock. I ran over tonight because I wanted to finish stuff up. But I'll be back tomorrow, and I'll be working on some game dev stuff. And yeah, I'm gonna go from there. Thanks for dropping by and hanging out. Hopefully I see you again tomorrow, or Sunday when I'm playing, or some other time. But yeah, I am going to get out of here, and I will see you guys later. Thank you.